and other helpers. That's why Trump retweets all this crap. That's why Trump stuck up for Michael Flynn. This is Russian disinformation. It's working. You got 70 million people that are buying into this global conspiracy theory while Donald Trump literally commits sedition. Oh, yeah. Right in front of your face. Sedition.
Served to read about the last
4 million votes. 4 million votes.
Millions of dollars of negative.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randy Rhodes Show.
All right, this just happened.
This is not an easy thing to do. Big Pharma ran millions of dollars of negative advertisements against me during the campaign, which I won, by the way, but, we'll find that out. Believe me, almost 74 million votes.
Oh, my God. He just had, in the James Brady press room, a press conference, he took no questions. And he just stood on the stage and declared himself the winner yet again. Said he got 74 million votes. He got 73.7 million votes, but Biden got 79.6 million votes. Which means, and Biden won 306 electoral votes. Trump got 232. He did not win. This is crazy. This is real lunacy, but it's also the President of the United States. And this means that what the president is doing is on purpose giving false information, giving speeches that are meant to disturb the tranquility of the United States. That is what he is doing on purpose, and that is the definition, look it up, of sedition. Sedition is a movement that, without an overt act, like attacking inside the United States or bombing something or, killing people, it is an attempt that is made through meetings or speeches or publications meant to disturb the tranquility of the state. That's why I've always believed propaganda was illegal in the United States if it was meant to disturb the tranquility of the state with false and damaging information. But it's not something that we ever enforce or haven't enforced in all these years. Since Donald Trump became Donald Trump and started birtherism and started saying Muslims were terrorists, and Muslim ban, and that Mexicans were raping. Nobody actually, pressed him with the sedition charge, and he needs to be pressed on the sedition charge. The man has to stand. He has to stand for trial on the charge of sedition. And I don't know that Joe Biden is going to allow that. I don't know that he'll disallow it. But that is where we are. This is what has to be done in order that it never happens again. You had the most bizarre, dangerous press conference yesterday at the Republican National Committee's headquarters that featured 3 lawyers who lied to the American people in order to disrupt the tranquility of the United States, in order to create a conspiracy theory in the minds of Americans that says that they were violated somehow, that their votes, were flipped, or their votes weren't counted, or what. I mean, they keep changing their story over and over and over again. There are 3 iterations of the lawsuit in Pennsylvania. Every team of lawyers who has worked on any of these cases that were brought by Donald Trump's campaign have resigned, withdrawn, removed their names from all the filings, withdrawn the filings themselves, and all that's left is Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and Jenna Ellis. That is where we are in America. 3 people that are willing to disturb the tranquility of the United States and the faith that people have in free and fair elections in the United States. 3 people at the behest of and on the orders of the President of the United States. I mean, this, and like I said, so the melting face, it was like, it was nothing compared to what was really going on. Rudy said, I can prove to you that Trump won Pennsylvania by 300,000 votes. I can prove to you that he won Michigan by probably 50,000 votes. Yet for some reason, he has been unable to persuade a single judge in any state of that fact. I'm sorry, but this was just bizarro world.
I can't give you all these affidavits because if I do, these people will be harassed. They'll be threatened. They may lose their job. We have 100 more of these. I can't show them to you because those people don't want to be harassed. They don't want to have their lives torn apart by the goons on the other side. I think the logical conclusion is this is a common plan, a common scheme. It comes right directly from the Democrat Party, and it comes from the candidate.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States. The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down in the states they shut down in. That's when they came in the back door with all the mail-in ballots.
This is an opening statement. This is something where we have told you what the evidence will show, and we have given you a brief description. That happens in a courtroom all the time, where that's not the fact-finding process. That is just an overview.
I know this is a lot of information that we've given you.
Look at him.
Probably because we're frustrated with what we keep reading and hearing in the censored press, which is that we have no evidence, we have no specifics, we have no backup for what we're saying, and you largely ignore the affidavits that are filed. Whether you agree or disagree with an affidavit, it's evidence. If I were the government, like I used to be, they'd probably be a lot of people arrested by now.
Okay, so that right there is sedition. It truly is. It is meant to disturb the peace and tranquility of this country by sowing, wild conspiracy theories that he has never proven or listen, all the filings that they've made, no filings contain any attached affidavits. None of the filings have any evidence whatsoever. There is zero evidence to support anything. And when Rudy's in court and the judge asked him, and we have that on tape too, are you alleging fraud with any specificity? Because are you alleging fraud? No, this isn't a fraud case. No, we're not. There are no affidavits. There are none. No. The one affidavit they keep referring, that person testified in another case, and the judge ruled it as hearsay. It's like somebody said, somebody told me that they saw something. That was it. That's the affidavit. There's no there there.
Clear for takeoff. Randy Rhodes, Air Force. Randy Rhodes. Durandi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
President Trump, in an extraordinary move, is set to host Republican state lawmakers from Michigan that he invited to the White House. The Trump campaign is focused on Michigan as it seeks to stop the state from certifying the count. where Biden leads by more than 150,000 votes.
One Michigan is going to be certified.
When asked, Biden denounced the president's actions as outrageous.
It's hard to fathom how this man thinks. He will go down in history as being one of the most irresponsible presidents in American history.
The Trump campaign has openly floated the idea of trying to get Republican-controlled state legislatures to appoint pro-Trump electors who would go against the will of the voters. But Michigan's top Republican lawmaker has said any effort to overturn the state's election results is not going to happen. A message backed up by the state's governor.
We've had a free, fair, and secure election. We need to respect the will of the people, and we need to certify these results.
Still, the president has personally tried to intervene, calling 2 GOP canvassing board members who reluctantly certified results for Biden in Michigan's largest county that includes Detroit. The next day, the 2 board members tried to rescind that certification, but state officials said it would stand. One of the board members telling NBC News the president did not urge her to change her vote. All of it as President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, in a bizarre news conference, baselessly alleged an unproven nationwide conspiracy of voter fraud in large Democratic cities.
I know crimes. I can smell them. You don't have to smell this one. I can prove it to you 18 different ways.
But there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud, and Giuliani, visibly sweating, provided no verified proof.
The answer is I can't do it because I can't put a witness's life in jeopardy.
Overnight, Republican Senators Mitt Romney and Ben Sasse both distressed, releasing statements. Romney writing, "It's difficult to imagine a worse, more undemocratic action by a sitting American president." Sasse also pointing out that the Trump legal team has not alleged fraud in courts because there are legal consequences for lying to judges.
Yes, there are legal consequences for lying to judges, so you can't lie to the judge, which is why Rudy Giuliani has presented no evidence in these cases to the court because it doesn't exist. He's just lying to the American people. And last I checked, there's no law that says you can't lie to the American people, but we do have a law called a sedition law that says that if you give speeches or if you have meetings or you start to publish things that are disturbing or shaking America's faith in its own government, it's not treason, it's sedition is what it is. Because the ultimate object of what they're doing is a violation of the public peace. They want a war. Right now we're living through a cold civil war, which everybody sort of knows, but they want an actual shooting war. They want people at each other's throats. They want people punching each other. They want people shooting each other. They want people, fighting over Donald Trump. Donald Trump is trying to exact revenge on this country for not making him the president of the United States again. And he wants his pound of flesh. He literally wants revenge. And everybody knows that. And the people in the White House know it. The Republican Party knows it. And that entire group of Americans need to be held accountable for contributing to this sedition, to these seditious acts. There is no doubt in my mind. There is no doubt in my mind that this is all designed for Donald Trump to get revenge. He's burning this country down to the ground. Steve Mnuchin has just stopped the delivery of federal emergency loans to small and medium-sized businesses. He wants the money from the CARES Act, the first CARES Act, returned. He wants it returned. People are going off of a benefits cliff, okay? Come December 31st, benefits will run out for millions of Americans. We still have 20 million plus people getting unemployment benefits. We have more unemployment each month, more new claims for unemployment than we had over almost 800,000 new claims for unemployment this week. You remember during the recession of 2008, we were going nuts because we were losing 800,000 jobs a month every month. We're still losing almost 800,000 jobs a month every month. And they're pulling back on the benefits. There is absolutely no discussion. Mitch McConnell said maybe he'll talk to Nancy. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. But you know what happened? The Senate is gone. They went home. They went home yesterday for Thanksgiving. They went home. They're literally trying to burn it down to the ground. There is no question that he is doing this. And without a shred of evidence, they're alleging a rigged election. I mean, obviously he said he was going to do it, but now it's actually happening, and the threat of sedition is not actionable, but sedition is. I'm telling you right now, and we're in the middle of a death event, a mass death event. You ever wonder what it might have been like to live through the 1918 flu pandemic? Well, now you know. Do you ever wonder what it might be like to be an American Indian and all of a sudden the American government gives everybody smallpox-infested blankets? Now you know. Now you understand. Stan in Texas.
Yes, Trump is a loser, liar, and a reprobate, and the Republican Party is cloaked in cruelty, garbed in greed. When I voted here in Texas in the public voting place, all the people that were told to take off campaign regalia were Trumplinites. They are the ones committing the voter fraud. I want true sunshine on the voting numbers because it will reveal that the reprobate Republicans are the ones committing the voter fraud. They got slaughtered in this election.
Well, you know, Texas is a good example. They had one drop box for each county. One.
Yes, and
was that to rig or suppress the vote, do you think? Because I think it was. I also think the 11-hour lines in Georgia, in predominantly African-American neighborhoods, was also a way to rig the vote or suppress the vote. But you know what? People like you, people in Georgia, people in Atlanta and Cobb County and Gwinnett County, they were having none of it. They were having none of it. And if people had to drive and drive and drive to find a drop box, they did it.
I was an election worker since 1980, ever since I was qualified to vote. In 2012, I was a precinct chairman for 24 years. One time before the 2012 election, the county clerk called me up and said, "You're not going to be working the polls this year." I said, "Why?" He said, "You're just not." I said, "Why?" "You're just not."
So you think he understood where your politics were leading you, or were they?
From editorials I wrote in the local newspaper, yes, ma'am.
I see. Yeah, so much for free speech, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And here's the thing: free speech is a thing that is only protected from government intrusion, right? And Stan is a perfect example of government intrusion on his free speech right to write an editorial in the newspaper. That's bizarre.
Clear for takeoff.
Of the 70 million that voted for Donald Trump,
Each state, though Rudy Giuliani claims the numbers do not matter and that his team has evidence of a centralized pattern of fraud, though he declined to share details.
And what emerged very quickly is there's not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states.
But in Pennsylvania, the Trump campaign's lawsuit currently does not allege any fraud, and Giuliani himself admitted it in court.
So the amended complaint, does the amended complaint plead fraud with particularity?
No, Your Honor. And it doesn't plead fraud.
Adding to the circus, one of Trump's legal advisors, Jenna Ellis, also facing scrutiny after CNN's K-File discovered she made disparaging remarks about the president in 2016, calling him an idiot, un-American, and not trustworthy.
Why should we rest our highest office in America on a man who fundamentally goes back and forth and really cannot be trusted to be consistent or accurate in anything that he says?
Yeah. You know, it just depends on who's paying her, right? Who's paying her. Now, here's the thing. I keep on telling you, lawyers lie until they get to court. You can't lie to a court. It's sanctionable. You could lose your law license. There's a whole lot of things that could happen to you. And that's why there's been no evidence presented in the court, because there is no evidence to present in the court, truthfully. There just isn't. So what they're doing is literally exciting disaffection for our Constitution. They are literally inciting hatred. They're inciting contempt of the state officials and the poll workers and everybody that busted their behinds for 12-hour shifts and 16-hour shifts in the midst of a pandemic to count our ballots openly and fairly. Okay? They had to admit in court that there were election observers from all sides. Listen, the election poll workers, the actual poll workers in Michigan, they'll tell you what happened there.
Shame on you. Shame on you for leading to this level of corruption. You have disavowed your right to even sit in the seat that you occupy. You are a disgrace as relates to the ability to have a free and impartial election in this nation. You have dishonored the legacy of veterans, the legacy of seniors, the legacy of all of those who've been left out and miscounted for generations. You may have stalled it, but you cannot stop it.
Thank you.
To discount the hard work of all of our poll workers and all of the staff across our clerks, and to single out my hometown, Detroit, to say that you would certify these votes across the county, aside from one city, again, is a disgrace.
You talked about not certifying Detroit, even though you acknowledged that Livonia, a city, by the way, I know you know is 95% white, had bigger variances than Detroit, which is 80% black. We understand, and you've now added your name, so I'm not going to try to change your mind. I just want to let you know that the Trump stink, the stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have just covered yourself in, is going to follow you throughout history.
We did our job protecting voters, poll workers, and ballot counters. I am ashamed to witness you failing to do yours. Watching racism like this is so painful. It's soul-sucking. But it's far more painful to those whom you target in this blatant attack on the rights of the good voters of this county, especially our siblings of color.
I spent from 6:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. there on election day, and I returned the next day where I spent from 10:30 a.m. until 12:30 a.m. Thursday morning. That is well over 27 hours in that room. In those 27 hours, I saw nothing.
Now, talking to the poll workers, debriefing them, the Washington Post did this work, okay? What we learned was that the only belligerents, the only contretemps, the only nastiness, the only disrespect for the poll workers came from the GOP poll watchers.
I saw lawyers running around the floor of the counting room telling GOP challengers to challenge every ballot, with the reason being that a lawsuit, not a courtroom victory, not an order, but because a lawsuit had been filed. I saw GOP challengers trying to operate election equipment. I saw GOP challengers challenging the counting of votes because there wasn't a Democratic poll challenger there. I saw dozens of GOP challengers refusing to engage in appropriate social distancing.
I saw them remove their masks. I saw them yell in the face of table supervisors who were just trying to let their workers do their jobs.
Second, the fact that this board is going to invalidate the hard work of those election inspectors and supervisors is even more unconscionable because they did this work in the face of a coordinated strategy by Republican challengers to disrupt, to intimidate, and to harass.
You're mad because you lost. That's it. There's no election fraud. I was a challenger. I saw it firsthand. Nothing went wrong.
So there's affidavits. Okay? Those are the statements of people who will swear under oath that this is what happened. The GOP was belligerent. They were disrespectful. They were operating voting. They were trying to operate voting equipment. They were trying to do their own counts. They were touching things. They were getting in people's faces. They were threatening. And people just kept their heads down and did the work of counting every ballot, each and every one. Now on Monday, Michigan will certify the election for Joe Biden. Today, Georgia said we hand counted every single. That's another thing. Just remember, these voting machines created paper ballots. So these theories about flipping votes and people not being able to check who they voted for and they don't. It's bullcrap. They created paper ballots, mail-in ballots. I loved them because they were paper. Didn't I keep telling you they're paper? It's a great thing to have paper. I voted in 2000. There was no paper. Paper. Sign the papers, Emily. Anyway, today, Georgia, their Secretary of State, Raffensperger, announced that the hand recount did not change the outcome, that Joe Biden literally flipped Georgia blue. Georgia, baby, Georgia.
In a winner-take-all system, close margins of voters leads to fights that are as fierce after Election Day as the campaigns before. The passions we feel reflect voters' commitment to the ideals and principles they believe in. We all want our side to win because our side provides the best leadership for our nation and state. I know. I'm a passionate conservative, and as I've said before, I'm a proud Trump supporter. I was with him early in the 2016 election cycle, and he's governed the nation by the same conservative principles that I hold dear. Like other Republicans, I'm disappointed our candidate didn't win Georgia's electoral votes.
But he didn't.
Close elections sow distrust.
Exactly.
People feel their side was cheated. We saw this from the Democrats in 2018, and we see this from Republicans today. Working as an engineer throughout my life, I live by the motto that numbers don't lie.
I told you he was an engineer, Raffensperger. And he just had a hand count, and each and every ballot. And just so you know, they were harping on signature verifications and all. Yeah, well, when you request your ballot in Georgia, there's a signature verification. When you get your ballot in Georgia and you send it in, there's a signature verification. So it's checked twice. And then in the hand recount, they just counted the ballot. Now, if Donald Trump wants to request a recount, he has, I think, until Tuesday to request a recount. You know he's going to. You know he is. Do you know why? All he's trying to do is delay the certification. That's all he's trying to do. Why? Let me give you the schedule of things that are about to happen. So today in Georgia, Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, said the hand recount changed absolutely nothing. Biden won. Tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, the governor of Georgia and Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, they will certify the hand recount. Okay, they will declare Georgia is done, it's counted, and Biden won by 12,000 votes, but he won. Monday, Michigan will certify. Monday, Pennsylvania will certify. Tuesday, Minnesota, Nevada, and North Carolina will certify. I just want you to know that because there will be no way forward for Donald. There is not a way to win now that Georgia's out. So
clear for takeoff. Randy Rhodes Air Force. RandyRhodes.com.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of the Laura Flanders Show. Watch it.
I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Hey. Of your imagination. Randy Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
A lot of people with impressive-sounding credentials in this country are frauds. They have no idea what they're doing. They're children posing as authorities, and when they're caught, they lie, and then they blame you for it. We see that every day. It's the central theme of this show, and will continue to be. So that's a long way of saying we took Sidney Powell seriously. We had no intention of fighting with her. We've always respected her work. We simply wanted to see the details. How could you not want to see them? So we invited Sidney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. That's a big story. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her. When we checked with others around the Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence either, nor did she provide any today at the press conference. Powell did say that electronic voting is dangerous, and she's right. We're with her there. But she never demonstrated that a single actual vote was moved illegitimately by software from one candidate to another.
Not one. They lost Tucker Carlson, okay, because this is sedition. That is what is going on. They are trying to excite people into having so much contempt and hatred for the American system of democracy that they will try and overthrow it. They are trying to make people hate the Constitution. They're trying to make people stop the administration of justice. They're trying to sow contempt and confusion in the country where people can't orient themselves. This is sedition. That is what sedition is. And they are involved in it up to their eyeballs. Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell actually said the quiet part out loud last night. She was on Fox Business. I just want to show you that they are serious about this, okay? What she is aiming to do, and this is Michael Flynn's lawyer, and Michael Flynn and all these conspiracy theories that have been foisted upon the American people, all of this QAnon nonsense, it was developed, it was propounded, it was digitally spread by Michael Flynn and his cohorts, okay? I'm pretty sure, because he fits the description, okay? He has spoken at these digital warfare conferences, or whatever you want to call them, and when he's been announced to be speaking at one of these digital warrior conferences to spread this conspiracy theory that Sidney Powell is adding to yesterday, they put up like a United States flag, and then they put 3 stars in a circle, I should show it to you. There's a circle, the flag with the stars in a circle, and then they put 3 stars to make the Q. And they say that the 3 stars are because Michael Flynn is a 3-star general, and da-da-da. I mean, listen, it's such a bogus, the game of Mousetrap. It's a what do they call that? Not a Rubik's Cube, a Rube. There's a name for that game. Anyway, she said the quiet part out loud. She went on Lou Dobbs last night, and she said, you know what we're trying to do? We want to throw out the will of the people. We want to just discard all the votes. We want to create enough confusion and doubt in the official election results, in the certified election results, so that all, not one, not two, not all the swing states, all of them, will seem to have not reached a conclusion. And in the end, on December 14th, when the electors' votes are read, there will be 2 slates of electors from the swing states. I mean, this is what she told him.
The president's path to victory here, as you and the legal team see it, if you could give us just that canvas very quickly.
Well, yes, Lou. The entire election, frankly, in all the swing states should be overturned, and the legislatures should make sure that the electors are selected for Trump, and it's going to have to follow the constitutional provisions that it be decided according to the amendment.
She just says the quiet part out loud. We want all the swing states to throw out the results. We want the will of the people overturned. And we want the Republican legislatures with Republican governors. We want them to send a second slate of electors, or a slate of electors that doesn't represent the will of the people, because they lost in all the swing states. They lost in Georgia, for God's sake, which, isn't a swing state. It is now. All right, so here's how this timeline works, okay? So today at 5 o'clock, there will be an announcement from the governor of Georgia, Kemp, and the Secretary of State, Raffensperger, a man who you now know is a staunch, dyed-in-the-wool, Trump-supporting engineer who is a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, said Biden won that state. Okay, so there will be an official announcement to certify that vote today at 5 o'clock. This is like 48 minutes from now. And then on Monday, Michigan and Pennsylvania will also certify their results. On Tuesday, Minnesota, Nevada, and North Carolina will certify their results. And then, as the calendar progresses, other states will certify. For instance, November 28th, Ohio, they certify on a Saturday. I don't know why. Arizona, Iowa, Nebraska, they certify on the last day of November, November 30th. December 1st, Wisconsin certified. December 8th is the date where I should be the right way. December 8th is a date where if the states have resolved all the disputes that remain alive, courtesy of Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and Jenna Ellis, the only 3 lawyers in the United States of America that are willing to go down this rat hole with Donald Trump. If the states resolve all the disputes and all the states certify by December 8th, and the results are insulated from all legal challenges, then we can be assured that the states that were won by Joe Biden will send the Biden slate of electors to their electoral colleges. Then the governor of every one of those states compiles the certified results and sends them to Congress with the names of the electors. That's December 8th. Now, the electors vote in their states, just so you're clear, because I know a lot of people are like, but the government has not funded itself, and the government might shut down on December 11th, and then what happens? See, there's another hitch in your get-along, isn't there? But on the 8th, the state's electors, their names are revealed, and they cast their ballots for the popular vote winner in their states. They do it in their states. All right. Then the next big day is Monday, December the 14th. Monday, December the 14th, the electors actually meet in their respective states, and they cast their votes. That vote constitutionally determines who the next president is. On January 6th, Congress is responsible for certifying the votes cast by the Electoral College. January 6th is the date that they do that. If there are still disputes on January 6th, if the Republican legislatures in the states or any state were to appoint a pro-Trump Electoral College slate in opposition to the will of the voters, and the Democratic governor of the state appoints a pro-Biden slate, it then falls to Congress to resolve the dispute. You see the long game now?
It's not doing your job.
County, I played that for you. The only disruption or intimidation or horror show that was going on in those counting rooms was being done by Republican lawyers. Okay? She is lying. There is no litigation that is existing in Michigan. She mischaracterizes, there's 74 million votes for Donald Trump. That's the most in the history of the United States for any president. Yeah, except for Joe Biden, who got 80 million votes. You see how that works out. It's called math. But this is why she's doing it. She's keeping the disputes alive in the minds of Americans and keeping the idea that they have been violated, that something was stolen from them in order to create hatred in this country, in order to endanger the Constitution of this nation, in order to endanger democracy itself. the peaceful transition of power, which is the first necessary element in a successful democracy, so much so that George Washington understood that and didn't run for a second term to show the peaceful transfer of power.
Thank you, everyone, for the very good and substantive questions today. I don't call on activists.
I'm not an activist, and you've been taking questions since October 1st, and you just took about 5, Kaylee. That's not doing your job. Your taxpayer-funded job.
You're not doing your job, your taxpayer, and what is meant by that? She is acting as a campaign surrogate. She is not acting as the United States press secretary, okay? She is acting as a campaign surrogate and not answering the questions of the media, which would be, what lawsuit is still active in Michigan? What lawsuit is still active in Georgia? When is the president going to concede that he lost this election? Why are you still lying about the most votes going to Trump in the history of the United States? The most votes in the history of the United States went to Joe Biden. Went to Joe Biden. That is just a fact. That is just a fact. Yesterday, Mike Pence, he also did a hit and run. Okay, he was at the podium. He, did a dog and pony show about, we'll get through coronavirus together. Okay, no national strategy was laid out. You did hear warnings from Birx. You did hear warnings from Fauci. Birx handled, don't travel. Fauci handled, listen, help is on the way. The cavalry is coming. Keep yourself safe during these next couple of months. We're peaking. The deaths are insane. We have 80,000 people in the hospital. We have, yesterday, 2,000 people died in a day. One day, 2,000 people died in a day. This is increasing exponentially, okay? The numbers are rising. They're saying by December 18th, we'll see 2,300 people dying in a day. And then they think 2,500 will die every day in January, okay? And they're saying that by March, we will see more deaths in this country than we saw in all of World War II. Now, Hitler was trying to kill Americans, and we will surpass the amount of death that Hitler was able to exact upon Americans. I mean, 471,000, they're saying. That's an increase of 30,000 from the last projection that we got. Today, over 80,000 people, almost 81,000 people are hospitalized in the hospital for COVID. And yesterday, 187,800 Americans were first diagnosed with COVID in one day. In one day. So he had a press briefing and wouldn't answer any questions.
Thank you. All of you need to answer that. What is going on? You're not working with the Trump team. You're all part of not recognizing democracy. You're all undermining the democratic election. Every one of you.
Why is this
and you won't work with the transition.
I've never seen the press corps this agitated. I mean, really, I never have. I wish that they would have been this agitated many, many, many times. Like before we went to war. You know, just saying. But people who know the facts, who document the facts, who look at this pile of binders, they read the binders. There's nothing in the binders. There are no affidavits in the binders. There is no evidence in the binders. There was a Post-it note from a poll worker who said, somebody told me that they saw, that was it. That was it. I mean, this is just so unbelievable. It is so heinous, and this is sedition. I mean, it has a name. Use it. Look it up. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine. I have no problem with you looking stuff up on your own and telling me if I get it wrong. That's perfectly fine with me. But look up the definition of sedition. And you tell me that they're not playing a long game in order to overturn the will of the American people, which was clearly documented on paper ballots, to the point where the southern stronghold of Georgia went to Joe Biden, where Arizona, a red state, flipped to blue. The swing states went for Biden. Wisconsin went for Biden by a large margin. Michigan, almost 150,000 votes. That's 15 times the margin of victory that Trump enjoyed in 2016. 15 times. They're just trying to play the clock out. That's what they're doing. Why? Because they have a small glimmer.
Levine, each Thursday move, Trump is getting personally involved in certifying election results in Michigan. He called the two Republicans on the Wayne County Board of Canvassers who initially objected to declaring Joe Biden the winner there, but both eventually voted to certify Biden as the winner. Now, a source confirms to CNN that both say they want to rescind their votes, though it's legally too late. That source also telling CNN President Trump has invited Michigan GOP lawmakers to the White House as part of his effort to interfere in the results of the election. All of this happening as the Trump campaign dropped its lawsuit to overturn the results in Michigan.
This is a disgraceful thing that was done in this country.
Meantime, the president's legal team is flailing, even as some close to the president privately admit his lawsuits are destined to fail. His lawyers are desperately clinging to lies and incendiary claims while offering no proof.
President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it.
Despite those claims from Sidney Powell, a Trump attorney with a history of propagating debunked QAnon conspiracies, the facts tell a different story. Joe Biden won the election.
So that's how we know who Q is, right? Q is supposed to be a ex-intelligence official, and he's represented by another QAnon, lying sack who is literally poisoning the body of the United States. She's literally, like we're dying anyway, and she's just injecting poison into the body politic. It's just, these are very sick and strange people, and obviously, Michael Flynn he pled guilty to discussing, America's sanctions on Russia with the ambassador to Russia, Sergei Kislyak. That's what he pled guilty to. That's, you got to believe that that's where this whole QAnon conspiracy media blitz originated. And the reason was to sow doubt in America, to denigrate democracy, to pretend that there was a deep state. Now, here's the thing about the deep state. If there was a deep state of really bad people inside our government, why would Donald Trump go after the attorneys, the U.S. attorneys who prosecute bad things, wrong things, illegal things? Why would he fire the inspector generals? Why would he fire the whistleblowers who were trying to tell you about the bad things? Yeah, because he's the swamp. That's why. And you can see how swampy he is. He literally is participating in a coup. He's trying to do it through these, crazy QAnon lawyers, Rudy Giuliani, the Sidney Powell, Jenna Bush, and whatever their motivations are. Powell obviously believes, in this, perpetuating this QAnon conspiracy, not because I can't say that she believes it or doesn't believe it. What I can say is she finds it useful. Rudy finds it useful. Rudy's also making $20,000 a day with these spurious claims, okay? He's literally getting paid to do this. It is just so sad and sick when you consider that we're already dying. We're already having a mass death event in this country because the president is derelict in his duty to protect and defend. But now add to it that the president is engaging in a nonviolent coup, and that Rudy and Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis, or whatever, are literally practicing and perpetuating sedition at the behest of the President of the United States, who is currently meeting with the Michigan House, the leader of the House of Representatives, the Speaker, Republican Speaker of the House, and the Republican Senate Majority Leader in Michigan, trying to persuade them to overturn the will of the people, while Kayleigh McEnany stands at the podium today and pretends that there's some live case in Michigan. There is no live case in Michigan. It was dismissed. It was withdrawn. And it was withdrawn by Rudy Giuliani. The disorientation is on purpose, and I hope it's clear. I hope I'm making it like really simple and plain. They're playing a very long game. Well, it's not very long. It's 61 days. They're playing a game for 61 days. And the reason isn't because they play, 3D chess. The reason is because the President of the United States is paying them to do it, persuading them to do it, for his own personal protection. This is like mafia stuff, okay? He has no protection from the law, and when you have no protection from the law, that's when you go to mafia tactics, right? Because the mafia is protection for people who can't go to the law. And that's what you're seeing right here in this country, right now. Jay in Michigan.
Randy, I called you way back in April, around the 12th, when the body count, the butcher's bill was around 50,000.
Yeah.
And I told you then, I said, is it going to be any easier to continue to pay respect to this Department of Justice memo that says you can't indict a sitting president when the butcher's bill comes over $250,000? Now we're at $250,000 and we're pushing past the $250,000.
No, we're past. We're past the $250,000. We've added 3,000 more deaths since the $250,000 because we're losing 2,000 a day every day.
And the thing that's burning me up is they have no fear for the repercussions that they're doing. They should face professional and personal retaliation. Nothing violent, but their lives should all be ruined for trying to perpetrate this coup.
Well, and here's the thing.
If we don't communicate to them on that level, they get off on us sitting around talking about how we're outraged and this is illegal and 250,000 people are dead. You and I are outraged while they smile because they think that this is the way that they will maintain power. We need to communicate to them very clearly. You will face personal and professional ruin permanently if you don't quit this because they're enabling him. Instead of telling him, they had a chance to get away from Trump when he lost on November in a couple days, last week or whatever. They could have said, okay, we're done with him, forget him. Now I have to sit up every day and wonder, is this the day that Trump will launch World War III and attack Iran? Is this the day, he'll finally find a judge that will listen to him and his malarkey? Is this the day that the Republican Party has damned itself with this? And I don't ever want to hear about their concerns, their feelings, their political ambitions. Again, I want them to know that they are damned. And I don't want to quibble with them about words and fairness and getting along and reaching across the aisle. That is all crap when you're trying to perpetrate a coup in the middle of a pandemic and 250,000 people are dead.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say to them forever.
No, you're right, and we cannot pretend that we're a nation of law and order if there's no accountability for sedition, if there's no if there's no accountability for second-degree murder, which is depraved heart murder, which is what he's doing. Yeah, I agree with you.
To the ideas and ideals of
ordinary people would never think to do such a monstrous thing. We actually believe.
But the reality is right in front of you. They're weak, spineless, cowardly, corrupt, shaking in fear of a mean tweet. Traitors to the ideas and ideals of the country. When America needed them to stand tall for a peaceful transition of power, they sided with the loser. When called to end abuses, they shrugged. When called to lead, they cowered. When called to speak the truth, they lied. Call them whatever you like, but don't call them leaders.
The Lincoln Project
Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I love the way the Lincoln Project just superimposes on my face their logo when you fade to me. That's so cool. All right, so here's President Obama on the Republicans, on their cowardice, on their fear of a tweet, on their spineless mission-giving posture towards a racist, homophobic kook. A dangerous, dangerous person being the President of the United States.
Let's talk about some news of the day, Mr. President. President Trump and his allies in the states are doing everything they can, it seems, to overturn the will of the people. For instance, late Wednesday night, Wayne County Republicans filed affidavits to reverse their votes to certify their votes in Michigan, the most populous county. And I've heard the word coup used to describe these types of efforts. Is that hyperbolic, or is our democracy really under a realistic threat here?
Look, Joe Biden's going to be the next president of the United States. Kamala Harris will be the next vice president.